Let's try this today. Stop everybody talking about what you think of Trey. What do you think the 49ers think of Trey? Because here's what I think. I think they're not that into him. That's what I think. And I hope that takes some of the teeth out of it. I don't think the 49ers are that into Trey. I think that they're open to being wrong. They might even be hopeful that they're wrong. But they're sitting there going, my man, if you pop and you roll, we'll be ready because we drafted you and we love you. You're a great guy. But we are counting on nothing. We are counting on nothing. And my evidence of that is, A, they have, whether it's behind closed doors or not, they have already told everybody that Brock Purdy is their starter based on his 8 games last year. And then they went on the free agent market and got what I would consider probably the top backup on the market. You could even make the case that someone might have taken a look at him as their starter. And they got him within a few days, which means they certainly told him, we think you have a chance to thrive and play here with the 49ers this year. And then when all that was done, you can say it was just a camp body, but it was Joe Burrow's backup last year in Brandon Allen, which means that other teams would have given him potentially a QB2 role. And he signed up for QB4. Why would they do that? You only do that if you don't really believe that Trey Lance is going to blossom. You'll be open to it if he does. You'll be very pleasantly surprised if he does. But I don't think they're counting on it. I just don't think the 49ers are that into Trey Lance.
No, I think you're right. And it's pretty easy to determine that based on the moves they made in the offseason. You're right, with Sam Darnold coming in, even Brandon Allen, a guy who has started more games in the National Football League than Trey Lance has. So this is not just a camp body. This is a QB3 who might be a QB2, and the QB2 that you brought in used to be a QB1. Yep. So if he is a QB2, I'm sure he's okay with that because he came in knowing full well what he was in terms of his situation, his contract. He's already made a boatload of money, and he wants to make that next contract, but he looks at what his deal is here in terms of incentives with the 49ers, and if he plays a bunch, and if he makes a bunch of snaps and plays enough that he'll get his bonuses, but if not, he's making a good kind of in-between salary, a salary that you would get as you're waiting for your next job. So if Brock Purdy comes in and he's the starter and Sam Darnold's the backup and he never plays, then Sam Darnold can go on and get a job elsewhere, maybe as a starter, maybe as a stopgap, maybe as a backup again, depending on what he's able to do. Like Mitch Trubisky got a job as a, hey, come in and compete for the job, be a placeholder until, Kenny Pickett took over the job. Yeah. So that's kind of what Darnold is looking at in his next spot, unless Brock Purdy gets hurt and Sam Darnold comes in and completely balls out. Then it's a total different trajectory.
We'll go to the phones here in a second, but on our YouTube chat, one of our faithfuls, Danker, wrote, all of this means nothing until we get to see Lance with McCaffrey, period. 2 quick points. I don't think you're going to get to see it. How are you going to get to see it? An act of God would need to happen. Somebody would either need to get hurt, and he would need to beat out people in camp that right now, privately, I don't think he's ahead of. So that's number one. And number two, if you love your quarterback, like think about what you're saying right now. Go to the cities where they love their quarterback. How about Jacksonville as a good comp? They have a quarterback from the same draft as the 49ers do. Do you think anybody in Jacksonville is like, well, Trevor Lawrence had a tough first year, but until we see him with an elite running back, we're not going to make up our minds. I'm sorry, that's not how it works. It's not how it works.
Do you know who their backup is?
Jacksonville's?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's C.J. Beathard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
So
is he knocking on Trevor's door?
Good Lord, no. And I know Trevor was the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Lance was only 2 picks later. Trevor, big-time college football, many years. Yeah. I understand all of that.
Got his team to the playoffs,
I understand all of that. But it's just, I'm not going to tell you that Purdy didn't benefit from playing with Christian and Trey has not. I understand that point and that aspect, but to think that an organization is going to decide on their quarterback only until they've seen him play with an elite running back behind him, come on. Kyle Shanahan has gone into most years of his career without an elite running back even on the team.
Right.
So they're not suddenly going, well, let's decide. No, we're not going to make any decisions about anyone until we see him play with Christian. That's not how you run the organization. What if Christian gets hurt week 1?
Right.
And then what? Well,
can't decide about Trey.
Yeah, like it's too important of a position to make it dependent on some other position.
Right. You know, when you can decide about a quarterback, it's on days like today. And you and I were out there with Lucas, our producer, and I'm not saying that today is the definitive decision-making day for anybody, but watching the quarterbacks go through what they went through, which was 11 on 11, it was helmets, but no pads, no tackling. It was a pass rush without contact. There was pressure, but there was no real threat of any quarterback being under any duress other than, ooh, look at me,
right.
I'm close to you. And Trey Lance had the only interception of the day, which turned out to be a pick six. Kerry Hyder Jr. took it right in the breadbasket and took it about 20 yards to the house. And Trey Lance, it appeared, broke down and rolled out and ran the ball more than any other quarterback when things got tight down the field. Just the eye test on one day for me and you and the other 15 or 20 or 30 reporters that were on the sideline. I'll say this about Trey Lance. He did not pop in terms of that guy, he's coming for Brock Purdy.
I won't say anything more because it was 30 minutes of one day, and probably, what would you say, of the 3 quarterbacks, I bet we watched them all do 10 to 15 plays.
Yeah.
Right? So not going to make any sweeping judgments out of that.
Nothing sweeping.
But in that half hour, he looked third best of the 3, like without a doubt. For that half hour.
A second-ish, even, if you want. I mean, Brandon Allen looked pretty good.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like I thought Sam looked the most comfortable. Trey was the least decisive. He was the quickest to tuck and run.
Check down.
He threw the only pick. He threw the wobbliest ball of the 3. And again, it's 1 half hour. It's one day.
Sam Darnold had a couple of wobblers as well, but he also had a couple of throws that were, a couple of throws where it was 20 yards down the field, in tight coverage, over the middle, where, and that's my big issue with Trey Lance, having seen it up close and personal today. It doesn't feel like he is willing to cut it loose. He feels more likely to, when in doubt, pull it down and run.
I get it. I mean, by the way, even if that's true, and he is hesitant to throw the ball downfield or let it rip, I mean, how could Trey Lance not be mentally affected by everything that's gone on? How could he not? So I'm not blaming the guy.
Yeah.
But here we are. That's what it looked like to all of us. And again, that was just 30 minutes of today. Matt in San Rafael here on Willard and Dibs. Hey, Matt, what are you doing?
Hey, guys. Actually heading home to pack and flying back east for a little brief vacation.
Look at you. Fly safe.
Very, very pleased. Before I get into my points, Dibs, the only way the Giants would have won that 89 series is if the earth opened up and swallowed Canseco, McGuire, Stewart, and Eckersley, because that wasn't even a match. The second thing is, how are you guys moving around with all the names you guys kept dropping during that last segment all around on the floor? But the main thing I wanted to talk about is, what do I think the Niners think of Trey Lance? I think they're ecstatic that Brock Purdy has panned out, because they have to be looking at Lance and going, oh my gosh, he is not, there's a very slim chance it could turn out to be a quality quarterback. But it's 98% that he's going to struggle because mechanics, because of inability to read the field, all these sorts of things that I think they were hoping they would be able to train out of him. The biggest one, though, is the mechanics, because it really just seems like he doesn't throw the football the way they thought he was going to. And they've just got to be doing cartwheels because they found a guy they tripped over a guy that was laying in the gutter and picked him up, and lo and behold, he's a diamond, or looks like he could be. But a guy that they can insert and start and make a run with.
Yeah, Matt, have a great trip. I think it's a good take, which is this. Now, there's some ifs in here before you get to the final take. But if Trey Lance doesn't pan out as a quarterback in the NFL, imagine what we would all be saying about this regime if they hadn't stumbled into something else.
Fire Kyle right now.
I mean,
it'd be a fireable offense. No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
That trade and that player, let's say the 49ers, and by the way, this is still on the table, because what if Brock, turns into a pumpkin? If this doesn't work out and then the 49ers are suddenly like not a playoff team, and Trey, I don't think you'll get to this point. I don't think you're going to get to it at all, but I don't think you'd get to this point even this year. But if over the next couple of years the quarterback play is poor and the 49ers are at ground zero and they were to miss the playoffs a couple of times in this division, woof, that would not be good.
No, it becomes a fireable offense, in my opinion, especially when you expend that much capital. And I think in the short term, if Brock Purdy plays this year and they go 8-9 and he's healthy and he's wobbly and he's not good enough, and maybe Trey plays a couple of games and he's not great, then you go into next year with what? Trey Lance either gets his fifth-year option picked up and Brock Purdy is entering the second to last year of his deal, and you got to make a decision on one of the two, or maybe it's Sam Darnold. No matter what happens, if this year doesn't go well with Brock or Trey or Sam, it's a wobbly future.
No doubt. Aiden in San Jose here on Willard and Dibs. Hi, Aiden. What are you doing?
Hey, guys. Just got home from the airport myself.
Sweet. What you got?
Just wanted to touch in on Dibs has mentioned about the hair loss. Man, Turkish hairlines is a real thing, guys.
Yeah, that ship has sailed, much like the Adriatic Sea. I don't know if I'm getting it back enough, but thank you, Aiden.
Yeah, no worries. In regards to how the team is going to feel about Brock Purdy, I mean, there's absolutely no way that Trey Lance is going to come in and have that rapport that the team established with Purdy. That's their go-to guy. I don't care what anyone else says. Later.
Thanks, Aiden.
Later.
All right. See ya.
Rock that guy.
Yeah, or not. But anyway, for me, it's not even about that right now. The Purdy thing is one thing, and I think most people have sort of gotten that. It's the other stuff that I think if you are hopeful on Trey Lance, if you're a big Trey Lance fan, again, for me, my observation is the concerning part is the level of work they've done to bring in other high-level QB2s, if you will. That's what, to me, is the red flag. And some of you can say, well, it's because of all the injuries, and maybe you're right, but my response would be, as I said an hour ago, what did they say to Sam Darnold's representatives that made them say yes? What made them go, that's where we want to be? Come on, Sam, we know you just started a bunch of games at Carolina a couple days ago. We'd love for you to be QB3. And he's like, can't wait. Where do I sign?
Right.
That just doesn't add up to me.
They told him he'd be QB2+, for sure. And
QB1's hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why he's 2+.
Yeah.
You're QB2, but you're going up against Trey Lance, a guy who we're not sold on, and QB1 is hurt. Yeah. So there you go.